Hey everybody, it's Barbara. And what do we have here? We have the Inspiring Women series from Barbie, from Mattel. These are the latest in their long standing collection. We have Florence Nightingale, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Jean King. And I'm going to do all of these dolls separately, but I wanted to shoot one opening with all three just to say that they were put out together at relatively the same time. They tend to do these in threes. So we are going to start. We're going to try to do this in chronological order, so to speak. And Florence Nightingale was doing her work just about 100 years before Ella Fitzgerald hit her heyday, and then less than a half century later, Billie Jean King made her mark in the sports world. So we are going to look at all three of these lovely ladies. We're going to talk about them historically, and we're probably going to talk about the shitty job Mattel did in terms of giving them their wardrobe. So everybody, hang in there, and let's enjoy the ladies.
So let's pick up with Ella Fitzgerald. Um, the first part of the box, the first and last paragraphs are the same, so I'm going to skip them, but I do want to start off with her quote. Just don't give up trying to do what you really want to do. Ella Fitzgerald had a very, very hard time performing. Not because, well, in part because of how she sang, but mostly because she was African American. She was alive from 1917 to 1996, but the majority of her vocal career was during the era of segregation in the United States. Even though she performed eventually in some of the best known clubs throughout the country, it was only because white performers made it possible for her to go in there. Before that, she could only perform in certain places to certain audiences. uh, the main paragraph that talks about her career. A chance opportunity to perform at the famous Apollo Theater catapulted Ella Fitzgerald into stardom to become one of the most popular and beloved jazz singers in the world. Yes, she was very popular. She was a beloved jazz singer. But you have to understand, there were places in this country that would not play jazz music on the radio because of segregation. But on the other hand, where they played jazz music, where they appreciated jazz music, especially overseas in Europe, she was a goddess. Part of the reason why she is a goddess is because of the way she approached the improvisational nature of jazz music. She treated her voice like jazz musicians treat the piano or the trumpet or the drums. She improvised a lot. She did a lot of scat. With vocalization and improvisation, Ella learned to use her voice as an instrument, turning singing into an art form. And again, doing scat, you hear it and you're like, oh, anybody can just go. You can't. The way that she learned to improvise and to really shape her words and to do that kind of vocalization, um, she was one of the first to do it, and she's probably one of the best to do it. Ella would become the most recorded female in history and earn countless prestigious awards. True and true. And there were certain hotels she couldn't stay in, and there were certain restaurants she couldn't eat in. And I mean, at the one hand, she would get all of these awards and she'd make all this money, but her money wasn't good in certain places. I know it sounds like I'm really like hyping on that, but it's important to note that, you know, even today, there are lines in music that shouldn't be there. This kind of person can only perform this kind of music. No, that's not how music works. But that is a perception. Through her career, Ella lent her voice to people in need, and her charitable foundation, the Ella Fitzgerald Charitable Foundation, provides aid to children in communities by fostering a love of music and reading. Music is a gateway into science. Learning how to do the metrics of singing or playing an instrument is a great gateway into science. It has to do with connecting to memory and turning on the same parts of the brain. With her incomparable voice and her spirit of determination, Ella Fitzgerald earned the title of First Lady of Song and the adoration of fans across the generations. This is a pretty typical pose of hers, the kind of dress she wore, the simple jewelry she wore, which kind of makes it very curious now that I'm bringing her down. It does make it very curious that for this, they decided, even though in the picture she's not wearing earrings, they gave her plastic pearl earrings. If they were going to do the plastic, I'd just rather they didn't. She's also got a brooch, also plastic. Again, rather you didn't. I'd rather they just spent the extra time maybe doing like a little flower corsage motif out of the tulle. The very top of her bodice, by the way, and the sleeves are a tulle design. The rest of her dress, as you can see, is I'm not even. It's like a polyester with sheen. It's not pretty, but this is Barbie signature, so they're not going out of their way to spend a lot of time with the seaming or with the construction of the dress. This is a body that is one step, I guess you could say, below made to move because there are joints in her arms and her legs and at her wrists, but which will help with the microphone. But you don't have a joint in the torso that really lets her move a whole lot, and her neck is not terribly poseable. I will give them credit though, just to hold it up, if you can see this. Her nails are going to match her lips, so that's a pretty decent detail on Mattel's part. As I said, they're not going to go crazy with the costuming. It's going to close in the back with Velcro. It's the typical style of a gown that a singer in that period would wear. Not so sure about the shoes, though. Purple, match the dress, okay. Right kind of heel, okay. Open back, not so sure. And the microphone is period correct that you would have that very much the box four-sided microphone like this. It's not. It is plastic. It's not heavy. It's not like you would see, by the way. For example, when Poppy Parker from Integrity Toys has come with a microphone, it's much heavier. It's much more metallic like. So this is a. It's not a bad likeness of her, of Ella Fitzgerald. Lots of product in her hair, so I wouldn't recommend washing it out because I'm not sure what you would be left with. But it's a very attractive face, and it is a very nice doll. Um, my guess would be that if you wanted to get her, I think she's the one that's very hard to get, so you may have to hunt around for her. I think of the three of this one, because Ella Fitzgerald is such a standard in the jazz community, people are more readily knowing her name. So you may want to try to find her that way. You're going to have trouble finding her. In other words, when I say you may want to try to find her that way, I mean you're going to have to like look for her in other places. You might find her on a website devoted to music, or like if they bought it in bulk or something. So anyway, um, that's pretty much all I have to say about her. I can't really, again, this is Barbie's signature, so I really can't get too much into what they do with the clothes because they're not making an effort here with the clothes or the accessories. But I do think it's important to be talking about Ella Fitzgerald because she was an activist and she used her voice literally and metaphorically to spread important messages of love and understanding and standing up for yourself. So for me and for the Lady of Song, First Lady of Song, I should say, this is Barbara, and I will see you in my final review, which will be of someone who is a great standard in athletics, Billie Jean King. Take care. Bye bye.